Everyone, before we start, I would just like to introduce myself. I'm Saranya and I'm from the batch of 2020 to 21. I scored 97% in the board exams, and before that, I had scored a total of 79.5 out of 80 in my pre-boards. Geography is a very scoring subject, even though people think topographical maps are hard to do. With the right amount of practice and guidance, you can easily ace it. Um, Most of the syllabus for this year is mainly focused on India, so it is much easier to remember the facts since most of it you would already know. A major part of the syllabus is also based on commonly observed natural phenomena around you and general knowledge, so you wouldn't not have a lot of difficulty while doing such chapters. You would also notice that throughout your textbook, real life natural phenomena are explained, so it's an added bonus. All you have to do is study smart and supplement the knowledge you already have while keeping in mind the tips and strategies I'm going to discuss next. You have to attempt a paper of a total of 40 marks, and out of which 10 marks would be dedicated to topography and 30 would be for the rest of the chapters. Your syllabus also includes physical extent and features, but direct questions are not going to be asked from that chapter. Uh, you can see the units involved on the screen, though I'm pretty sure you would already know what they are. Most of the questions in the paper are going to be for 1 mark each, but if there are match the following type of questions, it's going to be for more than 1 marks, as you would have seen in the sample paper issued by the board. A few tips about studying and making notes. These will apply to all the chapters that you study in geography. So make a good note of these. The first thing is that you have to make a very concise and to the point notes. Don't blindly copy down your whole textbook or highlight the whole thing. Um, Making short notes or notes in pointers would actually help you revise. It's easier to go through, and since you don't have to slog through the whole book, you would be able to revise in a much easier way. It also helps that you to make handwritten notes, because when you write stuff down, it helps you remember it better. For topographical maps, the magnitude of symbols that you need to know is a lot. So you can make flashcards for easier revision. Not just for topography, there are a lot of other chapters that you can use flashcards for, like definitions and stuff. You can also consider using flashcards. Make sure to regularly revise the flashcards that you make, because if you don't use them, uh, then there's no point in actually going through the effort of making flashcards. For chapters like natural vegetation and soil, where the soil resources, where the information is very less, but it's spread out so much that you think it's a huge chapter, I would suggest that you make tabulated notes. You can add columns for different things, like, for example, if we take the soil resources chapter, you can make different columns for where the soil is found, the composition, the crops grown, etc. This will make it easier to revise, and since you don't again have to flip through the whole book, you would not be very overwhelmed by the syllabus either. Um, Another thing you can do is make a list of important definitions. This is pretty straightforward. All you have to do is go through the whole chapter and make a list of important definitions. Even if it's for MCQs, it's important because there are such type of questions given in the sample paper that was issued by the board. You can break up your notes for each chapter into sections like this. So you can have one section for definitions, one for reasoning, and one for just tables. And one part that I would like you to keep in mind is that you have to supplement your answers with examples. Examples are very, very important. And in geography, it's actually even more important to know the examples, because since this is, like I said, more related to like real life stuff that you see happening around you, So if you know examples, it will help you relate to those things better. So location and area markings are important even if you aren't being tested on map work. It helps to practice a little bit. So if a question is asked, you can answer it. For most things like soil resources, etc., just knowing a basic outline of the political boundaries and the states would also be okay, provided you know the locations for the vegetation, soil, or water resources, types of irrigation and stuff. The last thing about these tips would be that you have to have a good understanding and practice of reasoning questions. The board absolutely loves reasoning questions, so make sure to study these very, very well. And also, especially for chapters like climate, keep in mind examples for such questions as well. So to easily cover the syllabus for geography, a total of 2 weeks would be enough. Throughout the span of these 2 weeks, the practice for topography has to be consistent throughout. You can use flashcards and make notes as I have discussed before, and utilize the method of active recall by spacing your revision at regular intervals of time. So let's say you have around 20 flashcards and you revise them on day one and you're done and you think you're prepared. Don't do that. Always make sure that you are picking up your flashcards again and again throughout these 2 weeks and revise them. This would help you learn faster and better. And you would, while giving the test, you would remember these things better. The next thing I would like you to do is identify the hardest chapter that you feel you have to do first. It would be different for everyone, so I haven't really listed down a specific one. Spend about 3 to 4 days on that chapter and then work your way down to the easiest chapter. So the level of difficulty has to decrease as you reach towards the end of completing your syllabus. If you feel that there is no chapter that you feel is hard, you can follow the plan that I'm going to share next. So the first chapter that I would personally prefer to start with is climate. Dedicate 3 to 4 days for this chapter and side by side keep on doing topography. Focus on reasoning questions and examples for them in climate more because this chapter has a lot of those and the board, like I shared with you before, really likes asking those questions. Moving on, you can dedicate 3 days to soil resources, make tabulated notes like I had given the example, because this would really help you to revise faster. And even on the day of the exam, you can just quickly go through the chapter. Then you can do the same with the next two chapters, that is water resources and natural vegetation, both of which you can cover in about 3 to 4 days and 2 days respectively, depending upon your speed. And if even if you take a lot, like the maximum amount of days mentioned here, you would still have 2 days remaining for revision, in which I would suggest that you pick the hardest chapter that you found while studying. If you didn't have one at the start, you identified that chapter and then you revise that more. And of course, equally revise everything, but pay a little more attention to that chapter and your weak points more. So reference material you can use would be Together With and OSWAL question banks, and you can also go through past years question papers. So if you have any questions, please feel free to ask regarding geography or ICSE StudyMate in general. And even if you don't have any questions right now, you can reach out to us on the social media handles that are listed on your screen. If you want, you can take a screenshot of this. Make sure to check out our YouTube channel as well for such videos for the other subjects. And if you like the session, make sure to register for our student mentorship and live teaching program to get many more tips like this and also one-on-one mentoring.